Hello and welcome to another episode of the Middle East Intro podcast, or the M.E.A.T podcast, should I say, sorry. It's me, the big dog, Shag Dog, Talal Jamar. Today we're going to talk about the paranormal and ghosts. We're not going to dive too much, we're not going to dive too deep into it, we're not going to get into the origins and stuff, but I was just talking to somebody the other day. Jesus, see recording this music in the background? Cat! Scary. Keep looking behind me. I think somebody's there, but they're not. Our music's actually from a movie called Dead Silence. Should watch it. Pretty good. No, the reason I want to do this today is I was talking to a couple of boys and somebody asked me, do you believe in ghosts? And I was like, well, of course I do. I believe in paranormal. I experienced something myself, but before I get into that, I'm just going to talk about ghosts. The famous ghost, Casper the Friendly Ghost from Ghost St. Patrick. Joking. I suppose the most famous one of all is the Brackerville Ghost. Remember that? It was a complete tourist attraction for like 2 months, wasn't it? People are going to visit the Brackerville Ghost. I don't think it was ever. I ended up being lights, the fog and lights from it. So yeah, ghosts and paranormal. I think I've always been interested in it. A lot of people don't believe in it. That's fine, no problem. The story I'm about to tell, a couple of stories I'm about to tell you today, they're true, 100% true. They happened. If you want to believe them, believe them. If you don't want to believe them, that's also fine. Not gonna. Here, it's up to yourself. It happened to me, and that's why I never be like, oh my god, it happened. I know what happened. So yeah, I suppose it all started. I think when I was wee, it's like 5 or 6. Remember, like I think everybody's maybe 6 or 7. I suppose everybody's granny had like a ghost story or had like wee things that didn't want into the house. And I remember like when I got a present and I was like got a pack of like playing cards. I was sitting playing, like I didn't have a clue what I was at. I remember the 2 jokers, and then my granny was like, "What are you doing?" And she took the 2 jokers off me and ripped them up and threw them into the fire. And I was like, "What?" This is like. If you play with the jokers of the deck, lots of devil out of your house, and it seems like you're 6 or 7, like that has stared at me from the to the end of time, so much so that I'm like terrified to bring in. There's not even playing cards in my house. Like I'd be really weird like that. That has stuck with me from let's say since I was 6 or 7. And then obviously being that age, you're just inquisitive and you're like, tell me stories. And my granny was telling stories like old boys around Blackwater playing cards, and some like couple of randomers. It was a big game of poker one night, and a couple of randomers came to me, knew who really they were, and my granny wasn't playing, but she was like making them tea or whatever, bringing them beer or whatever, and says like one of the players dropped a card and then like looked down at the ground, and like for a split second the boys beside him had like cloven hooves, and that's obviously a sign of the devil, and he was like, nah, that's enough of that. And like I said, he was never the same ever since. So like whether you can believe it or not, who knows? And anybody who's familiar with the Blackwater Town area, there's Proctor's House, and I think it is Proctor's House in the hill. There's be like lane as you're going towards Blackwater Bamber, just after you go past the chapel, there's a lane to the left. We lane just in that back corner. You go by the lane, there's a big house left hand side, Proctor's House. Partly haunted, and my granny tells the story of like this old couple living in it, and it's like relation of like my uncle's, was my brother or something. Uncle from like Marge, not like real uncle. If that makes sense. He was saying like, "Geez, where do you sleep with a gun underneath your pillow?" He might know he was doing something in the house, and he's like, "Jesus, what do you have a gun on your pillow for?" And he was like, "If you've seen the things I seen at night, you sleep with a gun under your pillow too." And like I remember my granny telling me all this stuff. I'm like I was only like 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe at the most. And I guess used to scare the complete shit out of me, like, and a couple of odd deadly like ghost stories, Like I love a real good ghost story, like it gives me a complete creep, it gives me complete chills, like, and so much so that I'll probably not sleep at night, divulging all this, but drinking a coffee here, keep my wits about me. But look here, as I say, like ghosts and paranormal, they have to exist, I've experienced. I know I'm gonna sound mental because I was talking about aliens all week there, like, but I'm not. I'm seeing. I promise you, I'm seeing. You know what? I'm actually just gonna end it. Mine wasn't so much ghost, but like a paranormal sort of experience. And again, I'm gonna before I say this, Believe me, don't believe me, don't care. It happened. This is exactly word for or step by step how it happened. I'm actually gonna go with this like lesser one first, and then I'm gonna finish off with a big one. So the second one, the first one, like I've seen ghosts a couple of times. Couple of good ones, whatever. But I remember a friend of mine, Paul Roach. We were at his house rehearsing for a play. Fuck, do you remember when you could do plays and you could rehearse and go to people's houses without wearing masks? And anyway, and he lives Country Lane. And I remember coming. It was real like foggy night. And I remember like coming down. There's a really like bad corner. It's like the lane just big enough for like one car, and coming down round, and I just seen this like woman in like a white, like a woman with really pale skin with like the darkest jet, the blackest hair I've ever seen, like real jet black straight. I'm actually goosebumps here. The blackest straightest hair I've ever seen, and I've slammed on the brakes as hard as I could hit them. Like, I mean, as hard as I could hit the brakes, and all I could hear was just like scream, and like I seen this thing come through the windscreen, if you know what I mean. And I go, what the fuck? And like I didn't want to get to the car, and I was like, fuck if I hit someone. And I remember like I drove on a couple like yards, and I was like, oh fuck, I have to stop in case I actually knock someone down. But I got out straight away, and I looked at my car, no damage in my car, and I was like, oh fucking hell. I was like, this was middle of the week now, like it was like Sunday morning, maybe, or Sunday evening, me hanging from the Saturday night. During the week, like, so I had no horrors or nothing. I remember then driving to Henderson's shop, and I kept looking in the rearview mirror, and you know what, but after I'd seen that, like driving down the road, I kept looking in the rearview mirror, and like a couple of times thought I'd seen something, but it was probably just the lights, you know. But I remember like stopping at the Henderson's shop, picking off my seatbelt, like just trying to get my breath back, you know. I was just so like scared. I just needed to go to like civilization, you know. I remember when I went to get out of my car, and I just felt something pulling my back, and I fucking screamed my head off in the middle of Henderson's. And I remember going into the shop, and I was like, whatever was buying, something healthy like water and a banana, probably. And the girl behind the counter was like, "Excuse me, like, are you alright?" And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "You looks like you've just seen a ghost." And I was like, "I think I did." And she was like, "Right, what's going on here?" But I legit happened, and I rang. I remember I come home, and like Claire was like, "Jeez, Talal, are you alright?" And I was like, "No, I'm not. I'd seen a ghost." And she was like, "Great, calm down." And I was like, totally freaking out. Like, it was so scary. Like, there's Claire just messaged me there now. Remember to leave them inside. All right, no problem. Spaghetti ball night for dinner tomorrow. I'll let you know how nice it is. But she was just like, and he was just like, I told her word for word, and she's like, "No, you didn't." I was like, "I'm telling you now." And it is like, it is crazy when you hear people like tell you stories of ghosts and paranormal things happening. But if you believe in God and you believe in there's a higher being, it has to be the opposite of that. You know what I mean? Like I watched a daily documentary there, The Night Stalker. Excuse me, on Netflix. Unbelievable, you should watch it. This guy from like Los Angeles, and he just minces a whole lot of people. Watch it, it's fantastic. Like there's no way that like I know people can lose their minds and stuff, but I think there's evil. Like, and it's mental. But yeah, going back to that, me seeing that ghost, I'll never forget the image of that woman. Like, it was the scariest thing. Well, second most scariest thing that ever happened to me in my life. And some of my friends will me go, "Sure, you talk some shit." And yeah, I do. I live a wee white lie. Like, I never tell serious lies. You know what I mean? I was just talk shit. I like to stir the old pot, as I say. But this is something that happened to me a few years ago. Some people, I've told the story to a few people. Some people believe me, some people don't. As I've said again, it does sound a bit mental. But this 100% happened, and yeah, it was a real. I just remember that. Give you a bit of background. I was through a bit of a tough time. Not mentally or nothing. Just whatever. It was life. Just was a bit hard at the time. Maybe a bit financially, whatever. It was bad, but it wasn't like depressingly bad. I was going through a bit of a tough time. Maybe wasn't happy with myself and all that sort of thing. So maybe I had a part to do with it, because I'll explain why maybe later on. But just so you know what, but I was going through a bit of a rough time. yeah, so I feel a bit stupid telling the story, like, but you know what? What else is there to talk about in the world? Um, so yeah, as I said, I was in a group message and we're talking about ghosts and stuff, and I was like, yeah, this happened, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to record it for a podcast. So even if you don't listen to it, I know a couple of my friends are going to listen to it, so which is all the people who listen to it anyway. So, because actually somebody actually asked me the other day, it was like, why do you do your podcast? Like, what's the point of you doing this? And I was just like, because I like doing it. If nobody listens to it, nobody listens to it. Something that's mine. So it's something I've always wanted to do. And there's like so much out in the world where people want to do something and they're too afraid of failing. Here, if this podcast, nobody ever listens to this podcast, I don't care. I ain't gonna listen to it. And something 15 years in, I can just listen back and go, well, fuck, that's the way the world was at the minute. And yeah. So as I say, we're gonna rattle on here, and this is I don't know what to call this story. It's not a story, it's real life, like, but I don't know what to call this tale. We'll call it, I don't know, like the haunting of Talal Jomar. Creepy. Right. So, as I say, I was going through, this is about 8, maybe 9 years ago. And so I was a young cub, like, young. And as I was going through a bit of a rough time, I remember, like, missing work one day, not going to work, waking up in bed. And this was the first I'd experienced it at a rough, sort of, maybe a rough weekend. So I put it down to this at the start. I woke up in bed, and the only way I can describe this thing that was lying in bed beside me was, it wasn't a body, it was just like a head, like a floating head, but it was like facing like upright, so it wasn't like landing on the side of his head, so staring like, it was nearly like on top of my head, and it was like the Joker from The Dark Knight, one of my favourite movies. So I was put down like, oh, you are in the horrors. So I was just like, yeah, you know what, forget about it. And I don't know what it was. I remember just missing work that day, the horrors, and just, you know when you just feel even extra weight on you or something. And so I was fine. I remember that night going to bed, and you know, you can again put it down to the horrors. You just think there's somebody else in the room with you, and like you're freaking out, and then I put it down to like sleep paralysis, which is completely. Sleep paralysis is I know a few people have had it. It is the scariest thing where you're awake and you can't move. And like, oh my god, this is fucking mental. Here, if the noise levels drop up and down, it's because I keep looking behind me. I'm not scared. Because I'm a big wuss. But yeah, I remember that night going to sleep and tossed and turning all night. And I'd be a real good sleeper. Like I fall asleep real fast and sleep for hours. It's one of the things in life I'm actually good at. So I remember like sleeping. I'm going to sleep and I kept waking up and sweating. And the first signs were like, I woke up the next morning and I was like, oh fuck. And I had like a handprint. You know when you get like a bruise? I don't know if anybody's made a bad car accident and you have like a real bad car accident. When you're bruised with a seatbelt, it leaves like the perfect imprint of a seatbelt. So it's like left. It's like somebody had like give me, you know, like when you slap someone's leg with like with a football, you can see the imprint of the ball. So I could see the imprint of this whatever hand. It was like real. It was 4 fingers and a thumb, but real long hand. It was right round my neck, like, and people know me a fat neck, like. And I was like, what the fuck? And then, because I thought maybe it was in horrors, but it's like paralysis, whatever. That I'd done it to myself, and I was like, it doesn't, like, my fingers didn't match up to the actual markings on my neck. Again, you just, for the first like couple of days, a couple of things like happening, like. I'd see things in the rearview mirror, I'd see things in the mirror, I'd hear noises, I'd hear people calling my name, and you put it down to just like, fuck, you're losing your mind, you're playing, your mind's playing tricks on you, whatever, or you're, whatever, as I say, it's a rough time, so it's like, right, get out of your own head. And I remember like walking the dog, my dog, and around the back roads, and there was like a goat, and like there's never been a goat in this field. And the goat like run straight up to the fence and just like looked at me right in the eyes. And obviously a goat is a sign of like the devil. And like my dog, who's like wasn't really barking at him, he was going fucking mental. The dog, and I was like, and he was like yelping, and like the goat like sort of stomped its foot, and the dog, my dog, started yelping. And I was like, you just get the feeling, it's like, just a pure sense of dread, fear, and evil. And again, you just sort of put it off. But then it started like really manifesting that way. Like the following week, I'd be driving, no matter where I was driving, the car doors would fly open, rear view mirror would drop off the thing, the car would brake pads off, and it's a driving piece of car, and I was like, fuck. And you think maybe subconsciously that you break the car or you knocked your own rear view mirror off, but like it was happening to like such an extent that was like, it was just so scary. And I remember like driving to the Argery and driving from Clare's house to the Argery, and and my car door flung wide open, closed, and flung about 5 or 6 times, and I was just like, fuck, it was so scary. Like I remember then I'm slamming in the middle of the road and the cat jumped up onto the bonnet, and I was just like, fuck, it was the weirdest thing. And then I looked around and the same thing that I'd seen, only it just wasn't just as what's what I'm looking for, it just wasn't the same as I'd maybe seen in the bed, but it was like, again, very like the Joker. And this thing was tormenting me. Like it was just, wouldn't leave me alone. I couldn't sleep. I wasn't even, I was afraid, I was afraid to tell people. Like I got, I was so scared to tell people, because it's like people are going to think I'm crazy, I'm going to be put in a mental home or whatever. And like my sister was a psychologist, so I sort of was trying to like put things like wee tidbits in there, and she was just like, get yourself on, so like at this stage I was afraid to drink, because I was afraid, I thought, right, stay off a drink. Yeah, not that I was an alcoholic, and I just enjoyed to drink again, but I was kind of like, right, stay off a drink, and hopefully that'll get rid of the horrors or whatever. And but it didn't help it at all, like, and it was just, fuck, even talking about it, I just remember like different things that happened to me. Like I'd been, walking down the street. Never really happened if anybody else was around, which always made you think was your mind. But say I went for a walk to like clear my head, like I'd heard people calling me, laughing, screaming. I used to hear like a woman screeching at the top of her voice, and used to scared the heart clean out of me, like. And but it was nighttime when I would get, like, obviously like any scary movie, nighttime when I got worse. When I get into bed and you could just see this person standing in the corner, and of course you put down sleep paralysis. But like you don't get it every night, like. And I remember like one again, I woke up another morning with an axe around my neck, but this time he had like actually drew blood, it scrabbed me. And people were going to me like, what the fuck happened to your neck? And I was like, I don't know what happened to this. And people would think I was starting to go mad, and I was getting scrabs in my back, and my hair was falling out. I don't know what's falling out now, but like, my hair was falling out. And so I just, cut it real short. I remember my hair cut it from back in them days. I remember like one night I woke up and Claire was like, Talal, get back in the bed. And she was like, I just stood in the corner like laughing, like, like a real creepy laugh. And she was like just standing in the corner laughing. She's like, Talal, what are you doing? Get back in the bed. And she says, like, I turned around and she goes, you just did not look like yourself at all. She was like, what is wrong with you? Like, what is happening to you? And she says, like, I spoke in a real, like, and I don't have a deep voice. She says, you just spoke in a real deep voice going, shut the fuck up. And I know it sounds like a bit really anticlimactic there, but she was like, you just didn't look like the same person. You went and she goes, you just left the bedroom and like went to the toilet, and you were there for like half an hour, 45 minutes, and like I have no recollections. She was just telling me. And so it was from that. This was sort of about 2 weeks after. So then, so from them days on, I remember like the dog would hardly wouldn't really come near me, and like my dog loved me. Dog loves its owner. Like wouldn't come near me, and like wouldn't want to stay in the room with me alone, and used to like growl at me, and he's never growled at a human being in his life. Like a dog used to like. I remember like the final straw for me was when I was sitting in the house by myself, and like I could hear like somebody calling me, like I could hear, and I was like, I ain't going mad. So I told Claire exactly what was going on, what had happened, and she was just like, what the fuck are you on about? Like, get yourself on, this isn't happening. And I was like, I'm telling you, there's something haunting me or possessing me. I don't know what it is, but I need help. And she's like, no. So this, again, nobody believed me. And again, you're listening to this, you probably think I'm talking shit. I don't care. It happened. This is exactly how it happened. So, again, I keep looking behind me because I'm fucking scared shitless. Shouldn't have had that creepy music at the start. Or that wee soundbite. And, yeah, so and again, waking up in the middle of the night doing really weird shit, like slamming doors and like walking around the house. So I remember ringing my mother and was like, "Did I ever sleepwalk? Like, did you ever see me sleepwalking?" And she was like, "Oh, I think when you're young, I used to like sleepwalk and talk to yourself and all." And like, and I was like, so I was like saying to Claire, but my mom said, she was like, "Nah, but like, you don't look like you're sleepwalking. Like you're doing proper things, says, but you're like making so much noise and like you want like I want to like grab a knife out of like a big knife." And I was like, right, need to get this sorted. I remember like the following night, I woke up and screaming and roaring. I was like, "Claire, what the fuck is that in the corner room?" She's like, "What? No, there's nothing there." And so again, she was just like, she was getting really worried about me, and she was like, right. So me and her went to bed at the same time, and the dog used to come up onto the bed. I remember turning off a light. And I was like, "Claire, it's there," and the dog went absolutely ballistic in the corner of the room. And it was only then she realised that, like, holy fuck, something had gone on here. Sure, the next morning, rang Monty, and I was like, "Look, this is what's going on. Believe me or believe not, but I need to see someone." So, and this all happened to me, like, and there's so much more that happened, and I just can't remember. I probably blocked it out. So she was like, "Right, I'll ring around and see what I can get," because I'm like, I was ready for the hill, like I was ready for the blue rope at this stage, because it really was like a fact in my life, like. So she took me to, there was a priest in the Bamber Prairie, and he had performed exorcisms and stuff before. I didn't go for a proper exorcism. It's like, it's not like the movie The Exorcist, where I'm sitting shoving a crucifix up my hole, like, you know what I mean? I remember walking in and he was like, I don't know, he could have just said this to make me feel better. He was like, "Yeah, I can sense darkness within and around you." And so yeah, had a few prayers and a bit of a ritual, and that was it. Here, it could have been all psychological too. Like, I'm not completely irrational, because like I remember leaving, I was like, I just feel so much lighter, and like I'm a heavy guy. I remember in my mind, just like I feel so much lighter, and like I remember the priest was like, "I'm so glad you came when you came," and he was just like, he goes, like, this priest had actually performed like proper exorcism, like down in Kerry, and like all like, and like wherever priests, I know it's like priesthoods and nunneries and stuff, like he had actually performed them and seen stuff, like real shit, like he had been in the shit. And he was like, "Yeah," you know what? The thing that was, I never ever mentioned its name again. But he was like, "Yeah, it preys on like vulnerable people who maybe mentally aren't, you know, maybe you're feeling a bit weak or whatever, you're having a tough time, and that's what." And like, he was like, "You let it in, and at the start you probably goated it. You're like, fuck it, no, this wouldn't happen to me," and all. That's what happens. And yeah, so that's my story. And look, I know it's a bit of a weird podcast. It's more of a storytelling one here. But hopefully next week's will be a bit more lighthearted. But yeah, I know what, I just wanted to share that. Hopefully you find it interesting. It is a true story, word for word. I know probably rushed it a bit at the end, but I'm still getting freaked out here. But yeah, everybody knows I have, like, I'm a Muslim by trade, if you want to call it that, but I'm not a practicing Muslim. I'm not a great believer in one specific religion, but I'm a great man of faith. I do believe there's a higher being of some sort. Whatever the right religion is, I don't know. I think you just have to believe in there's a higher being and a good to fight the evil in the world. Here, I mean, I want to send them a picture. I drive my car, does not leave the house without rosary beads. A Quran, which is the Muslim Bible. There's a prayer from Knock in my car. There's a prayer from Lourdes underneath my pillow, and I sleep with a Quran above my bed too. Ever since that time, and I will not. I wouldn't dream of driving a car on till it's blessed. Or moving in the houses or whatever. Even when I go on holidays, I'll always take a prayer. Always say a prayer. Again, I'm not the most religious person, but I do believe in a higher being, and so yeah, that's my. That's my ghost stories or paranormal activity stories. And look, I know you're all going to go, "Fuck, he made that up out of some story." That 100% happened. Believe it or believe it not, don't care. It happened. And like even to this day, like I said, always, like, it still creeps me out a wee bit. So I'm fine, totally safe, I think. But like, even the way I say, like, babies, like newborn babies can see like dead people and stuff, especially like family members that they wouldn't have got to meet. And I remember like feeding Maddie and stuff, especially like the real late night feeds. So you're looking over your shoulder and like, who the fuck's she looking at? Real scary, creep shit, yeah. Like, especially when she would smile into the corner of the room and stuff. But yeah. So folks, that's it for this week. There's no other way I could like talk any more about this podcast, but yeah, that's my story. Hopefully you find it interesting. If you did, please share it, like and share it. I'm gonna do, as I say, I'm trying to do different things this year. Obviously a lot of plans have been railroaded with COVID. One of the guys that on Review 2020 with Fitting Daily, he's very good at writing sketches. Like very, very good, very, very talented that way. So I'd ask him to write a bit of a sketch that would be applicable to like listen to like a radio, maybe be like wee short stories. Like that's what I plan to do. And that hopefully maybe in a couple of months' time I'll be able to do that. I'm going to do a live podcast I think very soon. Live on YouTube for a bit of crack. I have a friend, she's doing a charity cycle in Kenya. Still can't get her on the podcast to talk about it, but hopefully I'm working on it. Trying to raise money for it. Don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm going to do something. So I'm going to have to do like a test live run, see what I can do. Again, still working on that big conspiracy one at the minute. I know this is a wee bit, should have maybe saved this podcast for last time. Should have done this podcast has Halloween or this Halloween, but you know what? Fuck it. It's depressing out there. It's dark. It's gloomy. I'm really annoyed at myself for playing that creepy music start because I'm sitting here goosebump, still full of goosebumps here. So, look, folks. Thanks for listening. Hopefully, you find it a bit enjoyable. I'm sorry for bored. It's not going to be like this every week. I just wanted to share that story. The truth that it is too. So yeah, back next week's gonna be the same good crack, usual shy talk, reviewing the world. Hopefully stuff happens. And again, I have been saying this podcast, I'm trying to get a football podcast going, but again, COVID, true spanner work. So I don't know what I'm gonna do there. I'm gonna try and maybe. Well, this thing you can make like it can take phone calls and stuff. So, just trying to get it maybe. But I'd like my first football one to be with an actual human being in the same room. So hopefully in the next week's restrictions left and do it. So yeah, folks, thanks so much for listening. Thank you for your support. I'm really trying to get this podcast up and going. Like a bit of a name this year. So even if you don't listen to it, or if you do listen to it, even if some of your friends don't listen to it and think it's shite, just tell them to it takes 2 seconds to give it a like and a share. So for somebody else who mightn't heard or who might enjoy. So again, thank you very much for listening. Stay safe and yeah. See you all later on. Bye bye.